Hello everyone, welcome to FOC class 12. This video is part 11 of Fundamentals of Java Programming for class 12 IT Code 802. In our previous video, we have started a new topic which is user-defined methods, and we have completed the methods topic also. In this video, we are going to cover the remaining topics, which are invoking method, arguments, and void. So let us begin. This was the last topic that we were discussing in our video. We were discussing about static method, which was related to the invoking object. So means without invoking an object, we can call the method. This was the use of the static method. This we were discussing. So now let us discuss that what is invoking, how do we invoke a method. All these things now we are going to study in detail. So let us study about invoking method. Now, a method is called or invoked from another method. Basically, the method which is called or invoked, it is known as called method, and another method which is calling this method is called calling method. So basically, this called method is called or invoked from the calling method. When a method is called, control is transferred from the calling method to the called method. So initially in the beginning, before calling, the control is with the calling method. But when the method is called, when this calling method will call the called method, then the control will be transferred from calling method to called method. Now, the statements inside the called method's body are executed, means initially the control was with the calling method, and when this calling method calls or invokes the called method, then the control is transferred from calling method to called method. And when the control is transferred, then the statements which are inside this called method's body, the statements will be executed. And after the statements are executed, control is returned back to the calling method. So the control was now with called method. Now it will again go back to the calling method. Now let us call or invoke the rectangle area method from the main method. This will be an example by which you can clearly understand how to invoke a method. So let us see. In our previous video, we had studied how to write a method and how to declare it as a static method, what are its parts, all these things we were discussing in the previous video. In this video, we will be calling the same rectangle area method. Let us see the coding for it. This is the coding that we have to do to call the rectangle area method. Let us understand this coding in more detail. Basically, the coding that we had just seen had various parts, and some of the parts are arguments. Now, what are arguments? Let us see. Now, when we call or invoke the rectangle area method, then we have to supply with arguments. What are arguments? Basically, when we are calling any method, then we have to supply some values, and these values are known as arguments. So in our this example rectangle area method, what are the arguments? We will supply the length and the breadth of the rectangle. So basically, length and breadth will act as arguments in the method call. Now, the arguments were length and breadth. And as you must remember, in our previous video, we had discussed a term called parameters. What are parameters? Basically, inside a method, they act just like local variables. So here, the value which we are going to provide for length and breadth, these values will be copied into parameters. Here, in place of length, there will be a certain value, and in place of breadth, there will be another certain value. So these value will be copied into parameters. So here we have provided 45.5 as length and 78.5 as breadth. And as we just discussed that whichever value we are going to provide, it will be copied into its parameters. So this value is for length, so it will be copied into parameter length. And this value 78.5 is for breadth, so it will be copied into parameter breadth. So whichever value we are using, it will be copied into the same parameter. Here it is explained by the example. Here you can see these are the values. So 45.5 is copied into the parameter length and 78.5 is copied into the parameter breadth. Now, when the method is executed, then the return value from the method is copied into variable A. Basically, till now we have provided arguments, and arguments are the values which will be copied into the parameters. So, when we will execute this method, then there will be a value which will be returned as a result. So, this value is called return value. So, this return value from the method will be copied into variable A. Why? Because this A is basically denoting the rectangle area. Let us understand. Basically, A was indicating rectangle area, and we know that A is a variable. And also we have studied in our previous video that variable changes its value during the runtime. So when we are going to execute the method, then this variable A will take up the value which will be returned after the product of 45.5 and 78.5. Why these two values? Because these two values are basically the arguments, and these arguments are used to calculate the required result. And what was the result? Basically, we had to calculate the rectangle area. And what is rectangle area? It is the product of length and breadth. So the product of 45.5 and 78.5, it is displayed as A. So A will get the value 3571.75. This is the value that will be copied to A. So till now we had studied the coding in parts. Let us see the whole coding in one go. So here is our coding. First of all, as we always write the package statement, we have written it. After it, the public class statement, the class name, and starting with curly braces. Now, there is a change. What is the change? The change is that the public static void statement is not written directly after the public class statement. In fact, there is a coding in between. Now, why is this so? It is because we are using the user defined methods here. In all our previous example, which we had discussed in previous concept, previous video, in all those examples, we were writing the coding, and when we were writing, we were using this public static void statement just after the public class statement. But it was because we were not using the user defined methods. So here we have used our own defined method. That is why we are going to write the coding in this way. Here, after the public class statement, we have written this static method as we had discussed in our previous video. And after it, in the public static void statement, we have written the method to call the rectangle area method from the main method. Basically, by this coding, we are calling the rectangle area method from the main method. Now, let us see the output. As we had used the system.out.println statement, so basically, as we know that it is used to print something, so it will display the area in the output window. We had already written this statement in the inverted comma, and area of the rectangle is equal to this statement is already displayed, and after it the variable a, or we can say the value of the variable a, is being displayed. Why? Because we had given it in our system.out.println statement. And if we call the rectangle area method with different arguments, we will get a different result. Means if we are going to give the different values as arguments which will be copied into parameters, then we are going to get a different result for the rectangle area method. Now let us study about void. It is the last topic of the video. With this topic, we will be finishing the topic user-defined methods, and in our next video, we will be starting with the new topic. First of all, let us find answer to the question what is void. Basically, void is a special return type. Return type. What does return type means? Basically, return type defines the data type of the value that we will get in return after the execution of a method. Let me explain what I just told. Basically, whenever we are going to execute a method, then a value will be returned as the output. So that specific value will have a data type. So that data type is defined by return type. So its name is also indicating return type, means it is the type of return. So we can say that it defines the data type of the return value. Now, why is void a special return type? Let us discuss about it. Basically, it is due to the purpose we use it. Why do we use it when the method does not return any value? Just think yourself, what have I told about the return type and what is the use talking about? In the return type, I told you that it is defining the data type of the return value. But here I am telling that void is used if method does not return any value. So how is it possible that if we do not get any value and we have its data type? And that is the main reason why we are using void. Basically, it is sometimes possible that the method is not returning any value. And in that case, if any value is not being returned, so of course it will not have any data type. And for this purpose, we are defining the void as a special return type because it is going to be used when the method will not have any return value, but still the void will be acting as a return type, a special return type. Let us see it through an example. Now let us discuss the example. Method that just prints a string need not have a return value can use void as the return type. First of all, recall why do we use the void? We use void in case a method does not have a return value. So in this example, when we only want to print a string, in this example, the method is not returning any value, means the method has not any return value. So that is why we can use the void as the return type here. So here is the coding that we have written. First of all, we have used the keyword void. Why have we used it? We have used it to indicate that the method is not having any return value. For this purpose, for indicating this, we have used void. And after it, we are having in the next line the system.out.println statement. Why are we having it? Basically, here we want to print a string, and we already know that to print something, we have to use this statement. And inside the brackets, we have written the statement and also here the string. So this is how we are going to use the void. This method can be called with a statement such as we are discussing about calling and invoking methods in our video. So here we are given with an example with a example of statement which will call this method. So we can call this method with a statement like print message, and then in bracket this is a secret message. So this is a statement which can be used to call this method, and this method, it was using void, so it is a special return type. Here we have discussed about it. How is it a special return type? Why? Because it is used if the method does not have a return value, and in this case the method is not having any return value, it will only print a string, and that is why we have used void here. And this method can be called with the statement like this. Thank you. That was all for today. I hope this video was helpful for you and the concept user defined methods was all clear to you. Still, if you have any doubt, you can comment in the comment box or ask us on the Telegram app. We'll meet you soon in the next video. Till then, bye bye.